Technological and institutional reforms. It was mentioned in the previous pages that agriculture has been practiced in India for thousands of years. Sustained uses of land without compatible techno-institutional changes have hindered the pace of agricultural development. In spite of development of sources of irrigation, most of the farmers in large parts of the country still depend upon monsoon and natural fertility in order to carry on their agriculture. For a growing population, this poses a serious challenge. Agriculture, which provides livelihood for more than 60% of its population, needs some serious technical and institutional reforms. Thus, collectivization, consolidation of holdings, cooperation, and abolition of zamindari, etc. were given priority to bring about institutional reforms in their country after independence. Land reform was the main focus of our first 5-year plan. Their right of inheritance had already led to fragmentation of land holdings necessitating consolidation of holdings. The laws of land reforms were enacted, but the laws of implementation was lacking or lukewarm. The Government of India embarked upon introducing agricultural reforms to improve Indian agriculture in their 1960s and 1970s. The Green Revolution, based on the use of packaged technology, and the White Revolution, Operation Flood, were some of the strategies initiated to improve their lot of Indian agriculture. But this too led to the concentration of development in few selected areas. Therefore, in the 1980s and 1990s, a comprehensive land development program was initiated, which included both institutional and technical reforms, provision for crop insurance against drought, flood, cyclone, fire and disease, establishment of Grameen banks, cooperative societies and banks for providing loan facilities to the farmers at lower rates of interest were some important steps in this direction. Kisan Credit Card, KCC, Personal Accident Insurance Scheme, PAIS, are some other schemes introduced by the Government of India for the benefit of the farmers. Moreover, special weather bulletins and agricultural programs for farmers were introduced on the radio and television. The government also announces minimum support price, remunerative and procurement prices for important crops to check the exploitation of farmers by speculators and middlemen.
Bhudan, Gramdan, Mahatma Gandhi declared Vinoba Bhave as his spiritual heir. He also participated in Satyagraha as one of the foremost Satyagrahis. He was one of the votaries of Gandhi's concept of Gram Swarajya. After Gandhiji's martyrdom, Vinoba Bhave undertook Padyatara to spread Gandhiji's message covered almost the entire country. Once, when he was delivering a lecture at Potampalli in Andhra Pradesh, some poor landless villagers demanded some land for their economic well-being. Vinoba Bhave could not promise it to them immediately but assured them to talk to the Government of India regarding provision of land for them if they undertook cooperative farming. Suddenly, Sri Ram Chandra Reddy stood up and offered 80 acres of land to be distributed among 80 landless villagers. Vinoba Bhave could not promise it to them immediately but assured them to talk to the Government of India regarding provision of land for them if they undertook cooperative farming. Suddenly, Sri Ram Chandra Reddy stood up and offered 80 acres of land to be distributed among 80 landless villagers. This act was known as Bhudan. Later he travelled and introduced his ideas widely all over India. Some zamindars, owners of many villages, offered to distribute some villages among the landless. It was known as Gramdan. However, many landowners chose to provide some part of their land to
the poor farmers due to the fear of Land Ceiling Act. This Bhudan Gramdan movement initiated by Vinoba Bhave is also known as the Bloodless Revolution.
Contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output. Agriculture has been the backbone of the Indian economy, though its share in the gross domestic product, GDP, has registered a declining trend from 1951 onwards. In 2010-11, about 52% of the total workforce was employed by the farm sector, which makes more than half of the Indian population dependent on agriculture for sustenance. The declining share of agriculture in the GDP is a matter of serious concern, because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will lead to a decline in other spheres of the economy, having wider implications for society. Considering the importance of agriculture in India, the Government of India made concerted efforts to modernize agriculture. Establishment of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR, agricultural universities, veterinary services and animal breeding centers, horticulture development, research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast, etc. were given priority for improving Indian agriculture. Apart from this, improving the rural infrastructure was also considered essential for the same. From the Table 4.1, it is clear that though the GDP growth rate is increasing over the years, it is not generating sufficient employment opportunities in the country. The growth rate in agriculture is decelerating, which is an alarming situation. Today, Indian farmers are facing a big challenge from international competition, and our government is going ahead with reduction in the public investment in agriculture sector, particularly in irrigation, power, rural roads, market and mechanization. Subsidy on fertilizers is decreased, leading to increase in the cost of production. Moreover, reduction in import duties on agricultural products have proved detrimental to agriculture in the country. Farmers are withdrawing their investment from agriculture, causing a downfall in the employment in agriculture. When farmers have been facing so many problems and land under agriculture is decreasing, can we think of alternative employment opportunities in the agriculture sector? Food security. You know that food is a basic need, and every citizen of the country should have access to food which provides minimum nutritional level. This access, that segment suffers from lack of food security. The number of people who do not have food security is disproportionately large in some regions of our country, particularly in economically less developed states with higher incidence of poverty. The remote areas of the country are more prone to natural disasters and uncertain food supply. In order to ensure availability of food to all sections of society, our government carefully designed a national food security system. It consists of two components: A, buffer stock, and B, public distribution system, PDS. As you know, PDS is a program which provides food, grains and other essential commodities at subsidized prices in rural and urban areas. India's food security policy has a primary objective to ensure availability of food grains to the common people at an affordable price. It has enabled the poor to have access to food. The focus of the policy is on growth in agriculture production and on fixing their support price for procurement of wheat and rice, to maintain their stocks. Food Corporation of India, FCI, is responsible for procuring and stocking food grains, whereas distribution is ensured by Public Distribution System, PDS. The FCI procures food grains from the farmers at the government-announced minimum support price, MSP. The government used to provide subsidies on agriculture inputs such as fertilizers, power and water. These subsidies have now reached unsustainable levels and have also led to large-scale inefficiencies in the use of these scarce inputs. Excessive and imprudent use of fertilizers and water has led to waterlogging, salinity and depletion of essential micronutrients in the soil. The high MSP subsidies in input and committed FCI purchases have distorted the cropping pattern. Wheat and paddy crops are being grown more for the MSP they get. Punjab and Haryana are foremost examples. This has also created a serious imbalance in intercrop parities. You already know that the consumers are divided into two categories: below poverty line, BPL, and above poverty line, APL, with the issue price being different for each category. However, this categorization is not perfect and a number of deserving poor have been excluded from the BPL category. Moreover, some of the so-called APL slip back to BPL, because of the failure of even one crop, and it is administratively difficult to accommodate such shifts. Each district and block can be made self-sufficient in food grain production if government provides proper agricultural infrastructure, credit linkages, and also encourages the use of latest techniques. Instead of concentrating only on rice or wheat, the food crop with a better growth potential in that particular area must be encouraged. Creation of necessary infrastructure like irrigation facilities, availability of electricity, etc. may also attract private investments in agriculture. The focus on increasing food grain production, which should be on a sustainable basis, and also free trade in grains, will create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. There has been a gradual shift from cultivation of food crops to cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oilseeds and industrial crops. This has led to the reduction in net sown area under cereals and pulses. With the growing population of India, the declining food production puts a big question mark over the country's future food security. The competition for land between non-agricultural uses such as housing, etc. and agriculture has resulted in reduction in the net sown area. The productivity of land has started showing a declining trend. Fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides, which once showed dramatic results, are now being held responsible for degrading the soils. Periodic scarcity of water has led to reduction in area under irrigation. Inefficient water management has led to water logging and salinity.